So who am I? I'm a list maker. Some of you might really love lists. I love lists. Love lists. But where I really am is I've got 3 superpowers. My superpowers are I'm a mother, I'm a wife and a partner, and I'm an executive. And to do a really good job at these things, I have to take care of myself, right? I have to fully show up. I have to be fully engaged in these 3 roles. I have to fully show up to be a mom. I have to fully show up to be an executive. And I have to fully show up to be a wife and a partner. And remember, I'm a list maker, right? I'm really good at that. So what do? I put taking care of myself on the list. But remember, I'm also a mother, an executive, and a wife. So where does taking care of myself go on my list? Last. Absolutely. And what happens to the last thing on the list? Nothing. It stays on the bottom of the list. So if we think about in order to fully show up in life and to be fully engaged requires fully showing up, requires you to take care of yourself. And if that's always the last on your list and that never gets crossed off, are you fully showing up? So that's where I found myself 6 months ago. And I have to be honest with you, 6 months ago was crap for me. I was excessively overweight, and by overweight, nothing in my closet fit. Was really depressed, completely distracted in life, very unhappy, didn't feel good on the inside because I felt like I really looked bad on the outside, purposefully was not showing up for things in life, was ignoring moments in my children's lives, at work, just really wasn't showing up. I was doing everything for everybody else. Have you ever been there? Right? Everything else is important but you. I was really struggling with showing up in life. So here you have me. What do I do with this? Well, life is hard, so I think, well, what should I do? Let's do something harder. Let's run a marathon. Right? I'm overweight. I hate the way I look. Let's go run a marathon. That's a great idea. And that's what I did. So I decided to train for a marathon. I thought, I can get ready in 6 months. Oh my God, it was terrible. It was awful. I have to tell you, spandex has never looked and felt so terrible in my life. I hid out on a treadmill. It hurt to run. I couldn't run more than 2 minutes at a time, and I'm being honest with you. I hadn't run in more than 2 years. My girls were watching. I was determined. I wanted to be the best runner I could. But I was overweight. I was ignoring who I was ignoring my journey, I was ignoring my passion. I wasn't telling anyone what I was doing because I kept saying to myself, one day I'm gonna weigh less, I'm gonna look better, I'm gonna feel better, and then I'm gonna show up. Because right now is really crappy Leigh. And in 6 months, it's gonna be really good Leigh, so that's when I'm gonna show up. So right now, let's just ignore that. So that's kind of what I did. So I kind of just ran on the treadmill. Then one day, my encouraging husband came to me and he said, honey, let's go for a run on the trail. And I was like, oh my God, no. Why would anyone want to go in public with me in spandex on a trail where I'm going to run into probably 50 people we know? Absolutely not. It was a visceral reaction of no. And I mean that seriously. I couldn't even imagine a worse idea. And we've all been there, right? We don't want to go in public for some reason. And for me, that was a no. But then I kept asking myself, why was it a no? Why was I ignoring being out in public? Because the distance was getting longer on the treadmill, right? It really hurt to run 10 miles on a treadmill. It really got boring, and it hurt. It would have been really nice to be outdoors. So then one day, I'd love to tell you that miraculously, one day something happened, an epiphany happened. But I think, to be honest with you, I think I just got pissed off that I didn't want to be on the trail or that I felt excluded from running on the trail. So I laced up my shoes and I just went to the trail. But let's be honest again, there was no just going to the trail. It took about every piece of strength in my being to drive to the local trail, to lace up my shoes, and to go in public in spandex and run, because it wasn't going to be pretty. It was going to be hard. Breathing sucked, literally. I wasn't going to do a good job. I wasn't going to fit in. I wasn't going to look like a runner. Who cares that I'd run marathons before? This one was unlike anything I had ever done before. It was hard, but I did it. I showed up. But I will share with you, I had a shirt on that was probably 4 times too big. I had a hat on. I had big sunglasses. I was in complete disguise. No one was going to recognize me. But then what kept happening is I kept showing up on the trail. And truly, I think it was because I was determined to make it fit. I was determined to make it mine. And don't lose track of the fact that I was still not showing up in other areas of my life. I was still not showing up at the work events that were happening, the happy hours. I just didn't feel good in my skin. It didn't feel right. No one else probably thought that way, but I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go to the kid parties. I didn't want to show up. I just didn't feel good about myself. But slowly but surely, those months kept ticking along, right? Because with marathon training, you keep having to log the mileage. I kept having to show up on the trail because I'm also type A, right? I set a goal, and by God, I'm going to hit the goal. So as I'm doing this, I start losing my disguise. I start taking off the big T-shirts. I start actually wearing something that fits. I lose the hat. I lose the glasses. Miraculously, I don't lose all the weight. I don't start feeling more comfortable in my skin overnight. I'm not more confident to say. I don't start feeling like I belong automatically, but I start feeling like the ground underneath me is supposed to be there. I start feeling like, you know what? Showing up here is not so bad. I kind of belong. Kind of felt my stride. Kind of felt like, you know what? This is mine. I have a piece of this trail. And then what started happening was I slowly started owning more parts of my life. I started showing up to other things in life more fully. In executive meetings, didn't hide behind tablets, didn't hide behind my phone, didn't hide behind my laptop, fully engaged. With my children, didn't go to sleep at 8 o'clock because I was so depressed from a day, didn't have 3 glasses of wine, was more fully engaged, more present. It really translated to a more present and fully engaged life for me. So it was so strange that just showing up and finding a place on the trail, right? And here's the trail, right? She's kind of beautiful. She's always there for me. She's a constant. She doesn't care how fast I run. She doesn't care when I show up for a run. She doesn't care what it looks like. She just cares that I show up. And so I ask you, are you fully engaged in your life? Have you ever considered going out for a run on a trail? 4 weeks ago, I completed my marathon, and I will tell you, I showed up. I will be honest, it was the worst run I've ever had in my life. Let's be honest, it was terrible. But the great thing about it, I showed up 26.2 miles, and I'm here. I'm fully engaged in my life. And I will say that all of that for me started 6 months ago when I became engaged with the trail. And the beauty of it, true beauty for me as a mom, my girls got to witness me showing up in my own life and got to witness what showing up in life really looks like. So I encourage you, what does fully engaged and fully present and showing up in your life look like? And consider going for a run on the trail. Thank you.